Hi, I'm Dale Holliday coming to you from Corvallis, Oregon in the bountiful Willamette Valley. Welcome to my show, Valley Views, a forum for sharing relevant topics relating to people and issues in the Willamette region. Hi folks, welcome to Valley Views. Those of you who are sci-fi fans have probably heard of Kurt Vonnegut Jr. He was a prolific writer, but not just the sci-fi genre. He wrote short stories, nonfiction, novels, and plays. I love the way Kurt Vonnegut observed societal BS and wrote about it in a compelling, no-nonsense manner, calling out the hypocritical, greedy, political, and social actions of humans that have time and memorial enslaved the underclass and destroyed nature. One of his short story collections that I enjoyed was called Welcome to the Monkey House. I was a very mature, serious kid who loved satire and dark humor. I read Welcome to the Monkey House while I was still in elementary school, having purchased it through our class's book club. And that was many years ago. But one story remains prominent in my memory, entitled Harrison Bergeron. To this day, I remember the chilling impression it made on my young mind. I recall thinking that I'd never want to live in Harrison Bergeron's world. But here we are in that world. A world where there's devastating inequality of income, healthcare, housing, and education. Yet the pretense, the lie, the myth, is that we're equal and that it's a bad thing to acknowledge differences and strengths that we each possess, or the fact that some folks are just better at some things than others and vice versa. Because that would be uncivilized, right? For some time now, I've had the desire to share the Harrison Bergeron story with people who have never read it, and also with those who may have read it long ago, as a reminder of how insightful Vonnegut was in his depiction of a world so politically correct that no one dare be stronger, faster, taller, smarter than anyone else. So I'd like to recommend that you read or reread this brilliant short story. Welcome to the Monkey House may be out of print, but if you online search Harrison Bergeron, Bergeron, multiple links surface with the story in its entirety. It's only about 5 or 6 pages. So what is this story about? The society portrayed in Harrison Bergeron is not a world where difference is merely ignored. Oh no, difference is legalized out of existence. But that's not all. People are strong-armed into following this new world order, or else face the ultimate punishment, death. And of course, as is always the case, whether it be fiction or our real world, there are always plenty of those just waiting to rat out others who aren't down with the program. In Harrison's world, those in control, I'll refer to them as the state, place handicaps on people. So, if you're intelligent, the state uses a device implanted in your ear to shoot noise through your head in frequent intervals. This keeps you from putting cohesive thoughts together because, wow, if you think, you might see how messed up everything is and might even organize to revolt. The more intelligent you are, the more frequent, prolonged, and ear-splitting the noise. The device can't be removed or muted, even during sleep, because maybe you would have creative dreams. Not allowed. If you're agile, graceful, or strong of body, the state forces you to wear bags filled with sand and weights so that you lope around awkwardly. Even performing ballerinas wear this apparatus, leaving them to clomp around on stage in the most grotesque manner. But you see, no one feels badly for not having that grace and beauty themselves. And of course, if you are a troublemaker, someone who has a mind to act up, you literally can't run from the enforcers. If you have a lovely voice, you're made to put objects in your mouth to make it difficult to pronounce words, making your speech harder to understand. And it's mandated that lovely voices are altered either electronically or that pleasant-voiced person must purposely modify their vocals into a squawking, shrill rasp. Now I'll read an excerpt from the book. The year was 2081, and everybody was finally equal. They weren't only equal before God and the law, they were equal every which way. Nobody was smarter than anybody else, Nobody was better looking than anybody else. Nobody was stronger or quicker than anybody else. All this equality was due to the unceasing vigilance of the agents of the United States Handicapper General. And it was then that the HG men took George and Hazel Bergeron's 14-year-old son, Harrison, away. It was tragic, all right, but George and Hazel couldn't think about it very hard. Hazel had a perfectly average intelligence, which meant she couldn't think about anything except in short bursts. And George, while his intelligence was way above normal, had a little mental handicap radio in his ear. He was required by law to wear it at all times. It was tuned to a government transmitter. Every 20 seconds or so, the transmitter would send out some sharp noise to keep people like George from taking unfair advantage of their brains. That's the end of the excerpt. So as I mentioned earlier, this story had a chilling effect on me as a youngster. Probably because it mimics the mechanics of racism, sexism, ageism, all those isms that keep people imprisoned in those boxes created by society to keep you in your place. Not just your body in check, but your right to thrive, to be creative, to question, and to achieve. All the while, we're bombarded with the hypocritical message that we treat everyone equally. This story also speaks to how society's gatekeepers of the status quo pull out all the unethical stops to assure that no one with better ideas and actual workable strategies gets a toehold toward leading people toward needed change. Over the past years, I've seen this very tactic in Corvallis utilized by the gatekeepers to preserve the existing hierarchy. And I talked about this in my December 14th, 2018 show called Corvallis, Stuck in the Past, Unwilling to Build a Future. I notice such a misplaced emphasis on teamwork and groupthink these days. It's a common question during a job interview to ask how you work on a team. And I understand that teamwork is sometimes a necessity, but too much groupthink absolves groups from making decisions. Like so many politicians and civic groups who continually kick the can down the road rather than take the bull by the horns and actually take action to solve problems. For example, the pending Oregon PERS disaster, a crisis that's been building for the better part of 30 years and no solution in sight, or the climate apocalypse on our doorstep. Groupthink prevents people from being strong enough to think for themselves and punishes people for being individuals, just like, that's right, Harrison Bergeron. In my way of thinking, being an individual is not a bad thing. I may not always agree with people who think for themselves, but I at least know they won't fall into the mob mentality. And they're less likely to be fool enough to swallow everything they see on social media, and especially Facebook. And while I'm on the topic of toxic Facebook, I recently read a New York Times article stating that here in the US, people spend the equivalent of 91 days a year on their devices. I'm talking about mobile phones, smartphones, all those tiny screens that seem to fascinate people. That's 1/4 of your life on an annual basis, and that's an average. So some are hemorrhaging even more of their time on social media. Right now, so many people walk around staring into those screens. It's not unusual when I experience those moments when I'm out in public, standing in some line, or even sitting in a park, and I look around me and everyone is staring into a screen. It's eerie. There are those who have a vested interest in keeping you checked out and lazy. Call it the state, call it the power brokers, the man, the good old boys, good old girls. They want you asleep at the wheel so they can keep doing their evil deeds, gobbling up the world's resources and raping the planet. Harrison Bergeron fought back against his handicappers. But when you keep yourself checked out with your eyes riveted to a screen and buds in your ears, you aren't thinking for yourself or observing the world around you. Meanwhile, those in control continually chip away at your rights and your freedoms and keep you stupid. You are making their work easy, and I'm sure they appreciate it. You've been listening to Valley Views. I'm your host, Dale Holliday, and I'd love to hear from you. Comments, questions, ideas for future topics, or other matters you would like explored. Email me at valleyviews@kboo.org. That's VALLEYVIEWS@kboo.org. Special thanks to Chad Howard from Corvallis Access Media for his technical assistance and support. I look forward to being with you again next time. And remember, as Doctor Who once said, I'm not in charge, but I'm full of ideas. Bye!